Hi, guys. This is Doug Jessop. Welcome to this episode of Family Heritage Stories. With me, Jari Eschete. Okay, now apparently it's a Cajun name, but you're not Cajun.
No, I am
No,
not.
okay. So where do you call home from a heritage standpoint?
Utah.
Okay. Now, unless you're Native American, somebody probably had to move here. So who moved to Utah way back when, you think?
My great grandfather
Hmm.
came from Wales
Okay.
and then he moved to Utah. Hopkins Matthews.
Hopkins Matthews.
Yes,
Okay, which one was his first name?
Hopkins.
Okay, I'm teasing you.
Yes.
Okay. So now Wales, southern part of England.
hmm
Just out of curiosity, have you ever had a chance to go to Wales?
No,
Okay,
I wished I could.
that'd be a fun trip.
Yes,
I know a guy, his name's Max. You ought to talk to him about taking you. I'm just saying, okay?
yeah.
You know a guy.
I might talk about that.
I think so. Okay. Okay. Inside joke. Anyway, sorry. Um, so the name of the show is Family Heritage Stories. What does heritage mean to you?
Well, I think it's really important that we know where we came from
Hmm.
so that we can do our very best to carry that on through our family to our children, to our grandchildren, and our great grandchildren. But we definitely need to know where we came from.
Yeah, well, we all come from roots, and some of them are a little twisted, but it's like okay. Now, um, I will admit that you and I chatted a little bit beforehand, and you were in a cemetery. Okay, now, granted, my wife and I like to go to cemeteries all over the world. It's kind of intriguing to find those stories because to me, it's not just dates. It's what's happens between those dates, between the dashes, if you will. So, who are you visiting up in that cemetery?
My son, Max,
Hmm.
took me to the Logan Cemetery, and that's where my family is buried. We went to see my dad on his 104th birthday,
Wow. Okay, so happy heavenly birthday. So, what was your father's name?
Myron Heslop.
Myron Heslop.
hmm
Okay, now Heslop is a good Cache Valley name. One of the things that I kind of wonder about is how stories are passed down from generation to generation. You told me off camera that there was one woman that was special to you, and you asked her to do something and didn't quite work out as well as you'd hoped. You want to relate that story?
Well, I gave my grandmother a leather bound journal and I asked her to please write her life story because she had had a very interesting life. And when she died, I found the journal and she hadn't written one word in it.
Okay. Not a good thing. Okay, so what was grandma's name?
Linez,
Okay, Linez. So Linez, okay,
but we called her Mama.
Mama.
hmm
That's a cute name. So tell me a story you remember about Mama then.
Oh, I have so many.
Pick one or two, that's not a problem.
Well, when I was very young, we lived in a duplex in Ogden, and my grandmother lived on the other side of the duplex.
Oh wow.
So she was always there. But when I was 5, my father moved us to Oregon, and so I left my mama behind. But we would come to visit. And so when we would come to visit her, she would bring us to Salt Lake to visit her sister.
Oh.
We would wear our dresses and our gloves and our hats,
Yeah.
and we would go to ZCMI to the tiffin room and have lunch like ladies. And then we would go visit her sister Edna, and she lived up in Holiday. So that was like an all day thing.
Oh yeah. And if I remember correctly, because I remember the Tiffany room, it's been a long time since it's been gone. But not only did you have little refreshments, but you also had a spot of tea available.
Yes.
So what's the story behind these tea sets?
Well, Mama had beautiful teacups, and this was her teapot.
Oh, this is hers.
Yes.
Wow.
But when we would go to her house, we would have tea.
Okay.
When I was young, I had milk tea because I wasn't allowed to have full strength.
Yeah. Well. Okay.
So, but we had tea when we went to her house.
Okay. Well, nothing like a tea party with the grandkids.
No,
So, how many grandkids did your mama have?
4.
4. Okay. And where were you in the birth order?
Um, Next to the youngest.
Okay. So you're the little one. Okay.
Mhm.
So you're getting a little preferential treatment. Okay. Let's get real. Okay. Um, now, how many children do you have?
I have 4 children.
4 children. Okay. And now, okay, we got to get down to the quiz time. Okay.
Okay.
So there will be a quiz at the end. No. So you have 4 kids. How many grandkids?
28.
Wow. Okay, 28 grandkids. Any great grandchildren?
I'm waiting on my 13th great grandchild.
Good job. Okay, wonderful. Well, I won't quiz you on names because, admittedly, grandmas are usually pretty dang good at it, but grandpas, not so much on the names. But one of the things that we did talk a little bit though is, you know, the stories that get passed down from generation to generation, a lot of the happy stories and everything are nice and wonderful, but sometimes the strongest stories are the ones where we've overcome challenges. You've overcome one heck of a challenge, and you're here to talk about it. I mean, you are here to be able to share those stories. So you want to fill people in on what we're talking about?
You mean me personally?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 20-year survivor of breast cancer.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what what do these extra 20 years you've had meant?
Many grandchildren and great grandchildren that I would have missed out on.
Yeah. I hope they realize, the joy that having you around has been. If I had one of your grandchildren here, what's something that they would tell me about you?
I don't know.
Don't you?
My my 2 great grandchildren that I kind of helped raise
Mm.
call me Gigi, and they thought I was pretty fun.
Oh yeah. Well, come on. You look like you'd have a blast. But so what makes Gigi fun?
Well, I'll get down on the floor and play with them. I'll make a tent out of blankets and the sofa and the back
Yeah.
of the chair. We'll make tents and play in those and things like that.
Well, that's cool.
Take them outside and let them run around like crazy and you know.
Everybody needs to run around like crazy. I mean, now of course you got to sugar them up too, right? Okay.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Well,
So
and I'm told not to give them sugar. I don't I don't mind.
yeah, okay, well, yeah, neither do I. So is there a particular treat that Grandma Gigi is known to provide for the kids?
Well, I make peanut butter cookies and you put the Hershey Kisses on them.
Okay.
And then my children, I make cheesecake.
Ah, okay. And so you brought some for us, right?
Sorry.
So what started the tradition of cheesecake and the peanut butter cookies?
Well, the cheesecake actually came from my mother-in-law
Oh,
because it's her special recipe. So my boys, as they got older, didn't want birthday cake. They wanted cheesecake.
okay. That sounds like a lot of fun. Okay. Now what So, we actually do have a segment that we call Cooking with Grandma, and so what what's the secret, if you will, to a good cheesecake?
Lots of cream cheese
Okay.
and sour cream.
Oh, okay, sour cream. I didn't realize that. Okay. And then now everybody's got their different things, but did your kids like to have it plain or with a particular topping, or what's kind of the story there?
Well, the cheesecake is 2-layer. So it's the cheesecake on the bottom and then it's got a layer of sour cream on top.
Ooh, ooh.
And you don't really need anything else.
Oh, wow. That's pretty dang good. Okay. Now I'm going to have to ask Max to get me some. I'm just saying. Okay. Or peanut butter cookies. Okay. Come on, Max. He doesn't share. You need to teach him to share. Anyway, so you've got a picture over here
Hmm.
of a lovely lady with a beautiful hat. Now, granted, I'm a sucker for hats. Who is this lady?
That is my grandmother, Linez.
Hi, Liness. Okay. Is the one that forgot to write in the journal?
Yes.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yes.
So tell me about her.
She's 17 in that picture. And I love the hat. You don't see hats like that anymore.
No, beautiful.
She had she had kind of a hard life.
Oh, yeah?
When she was a child, her mother went blind. And so Linez helped raise her brothers and sisters.
Wow.
And when she was 9 years old, she played the organ in her ward.
No way.
Yes,
9?
yes.
Wow.
And it was the old pump organ.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she was the organ player when she was 9 years old.
Wow. So now I'm not super great at the times, but the hat, I'm thinking what, early 1900s,
Yeah,
1920-ish? I
probably
don't know.
so. No, probably the early 1900s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now where was she born?
She was born in Providence.
Oh, okay. So you had a bunch of Providence people then, it sounds
Yes.
like. Okay. You know, these Utah people, they just don't, the Utah girls just don't like to move very far. But, you know, but you ended up going, what's the farthest place you've ever traveled?
Probably Hawaii.
Oh, okay. Tell me about Hawaii.
Um, I'd live there if I could afford it.
Yeah, you and me both.
But
It's
I
like,
could save money. I wouldn't have to buy shoes.
okay. What was your favorite thing about living in Ogden before you guys moved?
Well, we lived on 13th Street in Ogden. I can remember going to kindergarten on 12th Street where the school is not there anymore. It was a little white house, and I went to kindergarten there. And I can remember roller skating from my house on 13th over to 12th Street to the kindergarten.
Oh, wow.
And my best friend lived next door. Her name was Sue. And so we just were very, very close, you know, 5-year-olds.
Oh, yeah. Well, so do you remember, did those skates, if I remember right, didn't they have like a key or
Yes,
something? What was the purpose for the key?
to tighten the wheels.
Oh, okay. Because I've heard the song, but I just couldn't remember why in the world you needed a key.
Yes,
So, okay. And then you said that your dad moved you guys to, what was it, Oregon?
Oregon.
So what was Oregon like?
It was cold in the winter.
Yeah.
We loved it. We lived on a ranch slash farm. Um, I thought it was the greatest place to grow up in the world. My brother and I just pretty much ran wild in the summer. Um, there was a little creek that ran through our property, and my brother and I would go catch water snakes.
Mm.
And we would take them up to the house and knock on the door, and my mother would come to the door and we would say, "Look what we found."
Yeah.
But in the winter, we would go out when the creek froze over in our snow boots and ice skate.
Oh, wow.
And then sometimes we'd fall in, and then we'd slosh home in ice cold water in our boots.
Well, I'm glad that nobody got hurt. Wow.
No.
Just out of curiosity. Okay, so I could just envision you, you know, with a snake with your mom. Okay. You had 4 kids. Okay. Did any of your kids ever do anything kind of akin to bringing snakes to mom?
Well, there were a couple of dogs that followed them home, you know.
Yeah.
Um, no, I had some really good kids.
Okay.
They weren't too awful.
Yeah. Well, but you were probably, but you were okay too. But, you know, so the question I guess that I try to figure out is again, the importance of passing down stories from generation to generation is so important. Um, you've shared some stories about your grandmother. What are some of the stories that you want to make sure your kids and your grandkids know and remember so that they can pass it down to their next generation?
I hope, especially my children, they remember the goofy things we did sometimes. Like April Fool's Day one year, I turned the table upside down.
Okay.
And one St. Patrick's Day, I colored the milk green. They wouldn't drink it. Just things like that.
So it sounds like you were one heck of a fun kid and grandma
I
and
hope
mom,
so.
you know? So, wow. Okay. So let's see. So we've got the Welsh, okay, and that was from which side?
My mother's side.
Mother's side. Okay. How about your father's side? Where was your father's heritage from?
My father was raised in West Weber,
Oh, okay.
and I really don't know a lot about that family
Hmm.
on that side of the family.
Yeah.
Um, we just weren't as close to that side of the family.
Yeah. Well, usually, let's get real. It's usually the mom's side. So now you've got a photograph album here. And I know this sounds like a facetious question, but why is it important? I mean, why do you hang on to this stuff?
It just makes me remember some of the things that my ancestors had to go through for me to be here.
Hmm.
They had hard lives, and they came from overseas and came to this country, came across the country and started a life. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here.
True. Okay, now we're gonna have a little quiz thing here. Okay, this is primarily for your grandkids and the great grandkids. Okay, so
Okay.
here's the thing, and they call you Gigi,
Some of them do. Most of them call me grandma.
Grandma.
Some of
Okay.
them call me Grandma Jer Bear.
Wow. Okay. For all the kids out there watching, okay, here are the things that we're gonna quiz Grandma on. Okay, so um, do you remember having a telephone in your house when you were a kid?
I didn't have a telephone in my house till I was in junior high.
Junior high. Okay.
We had to go to the neighbor's house, and she had the crank phone
Oh, wow.
on the wall.
Yeah.
So we'd have to go borrow her phone. And then in junior high, we got a telephone in our house, but we were on a party line. So you had to be really careful what you said when you were on
Mm-hmm.
the phone.
Okay, just so that you want to explain to people that don't know what it is, what a party line is.
More than one person can be listening.
Yeah. Okay. It's like, okay, it's talking about your phone's bugged. Um, do you remember getting the first black and white? We'll start with black and white. The first black and white television?
Yes. And my brother and I would stay up until the test pattern came on,
Mm-hmm.
and we would watch the test pattern
Oh, well, of course, yeah.
because there was only like maybe 2, 3 channels. And it was just such a new thing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
About how old would you have been roughly?
Probably about 12.
Okay. Do you remember getting a color television?
Not really.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a couple years too. Okay. Now, there's been a lot of technological advances in your lifetime. Um, Pretty sure there was no cell phones when you were a kid.
No.
There were radios.
Yes.
Do you remember the first car you drove?
Well, it was a 59 Chevrolet, and I didn't drive it very often.
Okay.
Once in a while, I could take it to school,
Uh-huh.
but in my senior year.
There
But
you
that
go.
was the first car. I learned to drive a stick shift pickup on a gravel road.
Well, yeah, that sounds about right for you, Tom.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm gonna go into territory that might get interesting here.
Okay.
Okay. Do you remember your first date?
I think we went on a picnic
Okay.
in the park.
Picnic in the park. Okay. About how old would you have been?
Oh, maybe 14.
14. Okay. What high school did you go to?
LeGrand Senior High School.
A Grand Senior High School. Okay. And let's see. Okay, we've had okay. About now, this is where I got to be careful because I don't ask women how old they are, but do you remember how old you were? This is the better way to put it. Do you remember about how old you were when people landed on the moon? Can you believe that?
I don't remember how old I was, but I do remember it.
Yeah. I mean, this is the other thing. I guess sometimes our kids and our grandkids don't understand, the things that you have seen in your life.
Hmm.
I mean, what's probably one of the biggest things that if somebody, were kind of looking at your life, what's some of the big things and events that have happened during your lifetime that mean something to you?
Well, the things that stand out to me, of course, 9/11 was a horrible time. It was the same year that my dad died.
Mm.
He died right after that happened, and um, I remember the moon landing. I was in high school when John Kennedy was killed, and I remember that day. I remember so plainly that day that that happened, and what a shock that was. And I don't know. I just I mean, I'm getting on there. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things that have happened.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank you for coming on. And so thank you for telling the story about your teapot and about okay, now we got to make sure that people realize, okay,
Hmm.
the little redhead grandma. Wow. So anybody else in the family redhead now?
Yes, we there are some grandchildren. So
Okay.
would have been her great grandchildren.
Wow.
She wanted a redheaded grandchild, but she didn't get a redheaded
Okay,
grandchild. But
but great grandchildren.
there
Okay.
are some.
There you go. Okay. Uh, so there's lots of different things, that we have that we pass down through our families.
Mhm.
What's something that you're especially proud of with your family?
Well, my father was in World War II. He flew the hump in a transport plane. He was in India, which is where my name comes from because it's spelled differently. Um, my dad passed that on to my boys, and it just makes me proud that my father and especially my one son has served the country in a very honorable manner. And but I'm proud of all my children. They're all industrious and hardworking and trying to do the right thing.
And they all have a fun flair for mom.
I hope so.
So what was your father's name?
Myron Heslop.
Now, we've teased a little bit about food, and a lot of the time traditions and values and culture are passed through food and events and holidays and things of that nature. Are there any kind of traditions that you've had that maybe were passed down to you that you want your kids and grandkids and great grandchildren to know about?
I just hope that they stay close to the family, that they realize how important it is to to have a family and to be with your family. And it's not necessarily the things you do, but just the feeling that you have that you belong to somebody and that somebody came before you and somebody's going to come after you, and that it's just a continuing line that you should be proud of where you came from and where you're going.
Well said. How has your faith helped you through your life?
I tried to be faithful all my life. I was raised in the church. Um, through circumstances that came about, I I left the church. I'm trying to come back now because I just felt like I needed something more in my life, that there was something missing. And every time I go, I hear something that I need to hear. And I'm pretty stubborn and I'm pretty prideful, which was probably part of the reason why I left. Um, like I say, a I went through a difficult divorce, and it it made me question a lot of things. But I have realized that I needed to go back and find those things again, because hopefully my children and my grandchildren will have faith. They may not believe exactly how I do, but we have to realize that there's something coming after we're gone that is going to carry us through.
Agreed. With another episode of Family Heritage Stories and Jari Eschete, I'm Doug Jessop.